Hello, welcome to another Seeds of Flourishing video. So as I'd mentioned in a number of previous episodes, I'm currently exploring the broad area of consciousness studies, and as a consequence doing that takes you down lots of interesting side paths as you contemplate different aspects of consciousness. And this week I'd been thinking a lot about existence itself, and so I was just digging through Wikipedia. I wasn't using my program that I mentioned last week. This was just a manual dig through Wikipedia, and I was, as I am now, sitting on the article for existence. So existence is the ability of an entity to interact with reality. And of course that's a really interesting component and critical component when you're thinking about consciousness and how consciousness interacts with reality. And as you can see at the top of the article, it says in philosophy it refers to the ontological property of being. So as I was digging a bit deeper into ontology, I came across a term which I'm aware of, grounding, but I'm not specifically aware of how that term is used in metaphysics. So I thought it'd be interesting in this video to just chat a little bit about that. So I took it down next level and went into here. And so I'm just going to read through this article. It's quite short, but it raises a lot of really fundamental things about grounding as it's used in metaphysics and how that compares and contrasts with causality. So let's just go through this slowly and maybe think about this. I'm not going to dissect it too much at this point because I've literally just discovered this morning, and I want to spend today just mulling some of these implications over. So grounding is a topic in metaphysics, and obviously we use grounding in different ways day to day. We might say someone is grounded, or we might talk about grounding when we're meditating. But in this area, as it's used in metaphysics, let's take a look at what it says here. So consider an ordinary physical object such as a table and the atoms it is made of. Without the atoms, the table would not exist. The table's existence depends on the existence of the atoms. This kind of dependence is called grounding. To distinguish it from other kinds of dependence, such as the dependence of an effect on its cause, it is sometimes called metaphysical or ontological dependence. Grounding can be characterized as a relation between a ground and a grounded entity. The ground exists in a more fundamental level, or on a more fundamental level than the grounded entity, in the sense that the grounded entity depends for its existence or its properties on its ground. According to the Neo-Aristotelian approach to ontology, the goal of ontology is to determine which entities are fundamental and how the non-fundamental entities depend on them. So there's some really interesting examples to help you get a grasping of how grounding differs from causality. So a distinction is typically made between grounding relations and other dependence relations, such as causation or realization. Grounding is often considered to be a form of non-causal determination or priority. According to some in favour of the idea, things which are less fundamental are grounded in things that are more fundamental. Here's an example. Many people say that physical particles are more fundamental than tables, cats, mountains, and other large composite objects. Some say that for this reason, physical particles ground large composite objects, or they say that facts about physical particles ground facts about large composite objects. This is then said to account for the direction of explanation. The reason why a given large composite object exists is because of facts about the particles. In chess, for example, if the king is in checkmate, this situation holds because the king is in check and has no legal moves. The fact that the king is in checkmate depends on the fact that the king is in check and has no legal moves. In other words, the first fact is grounded in the second fact. As another example, consider the property of being either even or prime. The number 4 has a property because it is even. Has this property because it is even. Here, because does not express a causal relationship where the cause precedes the effect in time. It expresses a grounding relation. The fact that the number 4 is even or prime is grounded in the fact that 4 is even. In other words, the first fact obtains in virtue of the second fact. And then it's got a little bit about the role in Aristotelian ontology. There we go. According to the I keep wanting to say non here. According to the neo-Aristotelian approach to ontology, the goal of ontology is to determine which entities are fundamental and how the non-fundamental entities depend on them. Fundamentality can be expressed in terms of grounding. For example, according to Aristotle, substances have the highest degree of fundamentality because they exist in themselves. Properties, on the other hand, are less fundamental because they depend on substances for their existence. In this example, properties are grounded in substances. Role in truth-maker theory. The notion of grounding has been used to analyse the relation between truth makers and truth bearers. The basic idea is that truth bearers, like beliefs, sentences or propositions, are not intrinsically true or false, but their truth depends on something else. For example, the belief that water freezes at 0 degrees centigrade is true in virtue of the fact that water freezes at 0 degrees centigrade. In this example, the freezing fact is the truth maker of the freezing belief. Expressed in terms of grounding, the truth of the freezing belief is grounded in the existence of the freezing fact. And that's where the article ends. But yeah, as someone who has obviously, as a result of studying consciousness studies, ended up having to think a lot about causality, as in, what is causing mind, I find this is a really interesting topic. So you could ask yourself, what is mind grounded in? And then explore that. So yeah, something to think about this week for me. And you, if it's an area that you find interesting. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in the next video.